Hey guys, we're going to start the next gen D8 build series. This is going to be my 3D printed 1/14 scale hobby grade RC dozer. We're going to go through the first steps, and then hopefully we can split this up into multiple videos. That way it's not too long for some of you. And then there will be a build manual. So let's go ahead and get everything started and get going on this. All right, so first we're going to go ahead and start with the main chassis here. We'll take our main chassis, which is this piece, and then our main chassis number 2. There's going to be 2 versions for this. This one I'm going to be running the Ripper. There's going to be another chassis version for the no Ripper, so you won't have any of these. We'll just have probably 2 points down here for maybe a counterweight or a hitch of some sort. So let's go ahead and start to build. The first steps are going to be to combine these 2 pieces of chassis. So we'll go ahead and take our M3 by 14 millimeter. Go ahead and start screwing these in. Okay, so we have that done. Now what we'll do is we'll add our M5 lock nuts. You're going to do this on both sides. Just go ahead and press them in. They should kind of squeeze right in there. And then we'll take our Ripper cylinder mount, which is going to be just a small piece, and it gets screwed in to the bottom here. So before you do that, take your actuators usually come with one of these mounts. Take that, and then an M2, or excuse me, gosh, an M3 by I think 10 millimeter self-tapping countersunk flathead. When I say countersunk flathead, I mean something just like this. See how it's designed to sit flat or sit flush onto a surface. So you'll see it right here, hopefully. And then we're going to take our M3 by 20 shoulder screw. I believe the whole thing is 20. You know it's 16. Sorry about that. And that's going to be 10 millimeter of shoulder. And it's a 4 millimeter shoulder. You're going to take that and an M3 lock nut and install your 30 millimeter actuator. Once you do that, slide it through here, just like this. And you're going to set it in place. And we're going to flip it over. We're going to take our M2, M3, and these are, I believe, M3 by 14s. Oops. I'm going to spin now. So there we have that. First step done. Move on to the next. Next is going to be our swing arm. I already pressed mine in. This swing arm, it uses 6 bearings. 2 bearings here in the center. These are going to be 5 by 10 by 4 millimeter bearings. And then your outside ones are going to be your 4 millimeter by 8 millimeter by 3 millimeter bearings. All right. So once you get those pressed in, you're going to do on both sides. And we're going to go ahead and get it in place. You're going to take your M5 by 30 millimeter, and this can be any head. just like these screws here, those can be any head, doesn't matter. I like to use these button or socket heads, the ones you guys see me using. I like these. I like the Allen head, doesn't strip, and I don't know, I don't mind the look of them. I think the button heads actually look better, but I always strip them out. So let's go ahead and get this installed. Made a wheel it. Let enough room in there to be able to see. Also give you some clearance. There's that. So once you do that, go ahead and take our M5 lock nut and we'll start to thread it on just until it starts to where I need to get some hardware in there. Once you do that, go ahead and push it in place. There's going to be a little cutout here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but once you do that, just push it down and that's going to lock it down in there. We'll take our driver, tighten it down. You just need you just need it to be nice and snug. You don't need to over tighten it or anything, just enough to, and that's about it right there. If you have a button head M5, that'd be better. It wouldn't stick out here, then your weights can really fill in this area. So once you get that done, we'll go ahead and get our front piece in, or excuse me, our front chassis. It's going to be this part here. And I know you guys are probably thinking, why do you have two different colors? One, we'll never see the inside here. Two, I'm going to paint this whole thing, so just using the filament that I had left and available. Let's go ahead and take our M3x14s. You'll notice I like those for this model. I printed all this in at 70% as well. I only used 4 layer lines or walls. Probably should have went with 5. So we'll tighten this one just enough. Back it off so it still wobbles or pivots, and then we'll go to this side here, and then we'll start this one. The reason why I'm doing that is just in case I tighten down with the one side, it's not aligned, and then I go to screw into the other hole. I just want to make sure I'm going straight into these and there's no misalignments. So this is what you should have starting off. Pretty basic. But this is going to be your main structure. Seems pretty strong too. So moving on to the next step, what it wants, or what it's calling for, is actually, we're going to start with the passenger side. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to take our countersunk M3 by 6. You're trying to push down as hard as you can. Feel this. Hold out here. Try and push down this. Do it again here. Right, and then start screwing in. You're going to use the same thing as before. Just tighten it and loosen it just a little bit. Then we'll go ahead and start this other one. And we'll tighten that one again. Then we'll go back that one. Do the same thing that one now. Alright. So that's done. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. And I'll probably do that side. I may do that one off camera because that one is actually printing. I messed it up when I was taking this apart. But that's it for this side. What we'll do now is we'll continue. Oops. Don't be dumb. Continue with this. We'll go ahead and get our motor installed. Take your M4 by 10 millimeter. And And again, the same concept here. You don't want to just completely tighten this down and then go for the other ones. You want to just tighten it down a little bit and then go ahead and grab your other one. And I usually go diagonal. I don't really think it matters, but alright, and then we'll do the same thing, just tighten down a little bit. And this is until we get all of them in here. Alright, so then we'll go ahead and start to tighten them down. So we got that done. Probably be better to wire in, solder these in now. I use these bullet connectors, that way it makes it easy for unplugging away from the ESC. Then we'll grab our top. You'll know which one's which by looking at these screw holes here. So you're going to use the 1M3x8, that's going to go on this, at this hole here. Alright, same concept. Thread it in just a little bit. Grab our next one. And we'll line these up, get it in. Sometimes I'll just fill the tops just to make sure everything looks good. Okay, so this assembly is done here. Looks pretty good. I mean, as best as it can look. And then if you wanted to, you could go to the next step, the next two steps in the actual instructions, and then you can actually finish off this side. And what that entails is pressing in your bearings here. So you take your 8 mil by 22 by 6 or 7, excuse me, and you're gonna push them in. They might be a little tight, so try and line it up as best as you can. You don't want to push too much on one side, so it's pretty tight. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm actually gonna put it on the flat surface right here, and I'm gonna push on it. And we already got it started. So now I'm gonna go ahead and I don't know if I can get this on camera. I'm gonna put it right here on the edge of my desk, and I'm gonna push as much as I can. And if you don't have like a good edge to your desk, you can always do this on like another table or something like that. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. Nice and flat. All right, this side's gonna go in just a little bit deeper, and I'll show you why here in a second, or after I do this. So this is gonna be the top. The way I print this is the bottom here. This is the top. The top part usually goes in nicely. The bottom part, just because it was smushed onto the bed, it usually is a lot tighter, but you should be able to get it. As long as your tolerances are good. So we got that one in. And it's supposed to go in a little bit more. So what we'll do is we'll take our cover here and we're gonna just press down on it. Center it, push. And I don't know if you guys heard that, but it went right down in there. So we'll wait to put this cover on. What this goes on is here. Right? And it might be nice and tight over that shaft. And then it's kind of pressed fit in here. I didn't leave any tolerance for it. So we'll line it up. What you want is these to be straight up and down, and these to be left and right. It doesn't matter which hole you use. So we'll go ahead and get it lined up, and you can always see the hole there. You can always go like this and kind of line them up like that. Once you get that, just push it, and that's it. You might be able to spin it. Oh yeah, we can spin it. So you might be able to spin it, you might not. It just really depends on the tolerances for your printers. So in here, we're gonna take our M3x12. We'll go ahead and start in this top. You might need to adjust this again. So we'll go ahead and just start, and then you might be able to feel it there. It turned a little bit for me. So I'll go ahead and get this started. And we'll back it off just a little bit, just to make sure we're in line. I don't know how we couldn't be in line though, because it's pressed in there, but just make sure. And then we'll tighten this one. And when you're tightening these screws down, you could, if you have enough strength, you can over tighten them. What I usually do is you'll feel it kind of get snug, and then I'll twist it just a little bit more, like there's snug, and I'll just go a little bit more. You can kind of feel it really bite. That's what you want. Okay, so we're done with these for now. I'm gonna grab our M3 by 6mm. We're gonna get it started. And this orientation doesn't matter. Just go ahead and slide it over. And this is just a cover to kind of help keep these bearings out of the dirt. All right, and we'll check to make sure that we're nice and locked down, nice and snug. Looks good all the way around. So we'll set these aside. Done with those for now. What we are gonna grab is our M2 by 10. So what we're gonna do is we're going to install our, what is this called? Swing pivot mount. And you'll notice that I have a nut in here. The ones you guys are gonna use are not gonna have the nut. I contemplated just printing this in place on top of here, but I thought it'd be a better idea to just keep it unprinted. Plus for testing, I just wanted to, it was a lot easier for testing, but I like the way it looks with the bolts. And then what I ended up doing is I didn't have long enough screws or bolts for testing. And I went ahead and put my nut inside of this. And that was the original goal. But I like the idea of it going through this chassis into here. And that's what this nut's for, is to help lock that pivot down. So for me, I'm gonna use the nut like that. And then we'll take our M2 by 10mm. I usually get it started until the screw just protrudes a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and start to get it threaded. Same concept, back it off, tighten it, back it off. Let's get our next one in. This is just to make sure everything's lined up. Once you know it's lined up, which those are gonna be pretty good, then we can go ahead and snug those down. And you know, just like the big ones or the M3s, you know, get it tight, and then just maybe like an eighth of a turn, just to, you know, really feel it locked down. All right, so we have side one done. I mean, passenger side to be exact. So we'll go ahead and set these aside for right now. Then our next step is to go ahead and get it mounted. So I'll go ahead and get it lined up. Looks good to me. M3 by 14. We'll go ahead and get one started. And we'll go to this back one here. And then we'll go to this other one. I just want to make sure that we have no alignment issues. That's why I'm kind of doing it this way. So we got these two here to lock in this one for now. And then we'll just make sure that this is lined up. And when I say lined up, I'm just feeling down the bottom here. It's nice and flush. So then we'll go to the front here, and you can see that there's a gap here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from this third hole, and I'm going to go ahead and push in on that bottom and then screw it in. And then right when you feel it tighten down a little bit, just kind of rub your finger on it. You may need to push it a little bit more, and then go ahead and lock it down, and we're nice and flush there. So Alright, so now we have that done. Got all those screws in. Everything looks nice and flush. So now we're going to move on to this front part here. You guys are probably going to hate me. I know some of you guys just are not a fan of these M2s. I like the way that they look as far as when they sit recessed. I think the M3s look a little too big. But we'll take our M2 by 10 millimeter. And we'll go ahead and screw it in. Same concept, just screw it down until it's snug. Back it off just a little bit, just so you can get this all aligned. Then I'll go to this middle one. All right, snug that one out, maybe tighten it, and then we'll go back up to the top one and tighten it. And then we'll just work our way. And I like these socket head ones for the M2s. Again, they don't strip out as easy as the button head. They seem to be, the Allen portion seems to be deeper than the button head ones. I'm not a huge fan of the Phillips head, unless I absolutely have to use them. It would seem to only find the Phillips head, or the countersunk ones in Phillips head. Okay, so we have all of our M2 and then all of our M3s. We have our bearings sealed. I mean, not completely sealed, but it's about as sealed as we're ever going to get it. And then our pivot is installed as well. So now we can go ahead and start to move to this next one. Before you get to this point though, you may want to start adding some weight. You're not going to have too much more room in here, or too much access to get down. What I've done for myself is I've casted my own lead weights. And what this is I just got some lead ingots and made some forms and some casting sand. And I will provide those forms in the files, and then I will make a video after I'm done with this build to show you guys how I did this. Relatively easy, just got to be careful, wear a mask. And then the smudge pot, or the melting pot, was only $25. It was relatively cheap. The lead was pretty expensive. I got 20 pounds on Amazon for $90 or maybe $100. But the goal here was to be able to get them to go in. And I actually did this before without the motors in place. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to unscrew this bolt a little bit. I think I'm using a 35 here. If you had a M5 by 30, you wouldn't have to worry. But I'm just going to back it off just a little bit. All right, that one fits. And I could see what I ended up doing is this was the middle. I actually smushed this down. You can kind of see the hammer marks. And it goes just like this. So we'll leave that. And I actually can see, looks like it's a little high right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna slam it on the ground. So I'll just go. Looks pretty good in theory. I should be able to slide this in place now. There it is. So yeah, we weren't all the way back, but we're looking good there. So you want to add all your weight now. I did the same thing for these little forms, but they're pretty cool. We're little cast, and they're designed to sit just like that. And this is I only did this to maximize the amount of weight I was able to get inside of these small areas. I thought about taking this out, but I didn't think it would benefit too much. I wanted to make sure that this had enough strength because that is the main pivot and the tracks are pretty heavy. So I'm gonna actually have to take this off. I'll do this off camera. I'm gonna take this off to get this weight in there. I should have put the weight in before I put that side on, but I didn't. But what you're gonna wanna do is I'll do it off camera to save time. You're gonna want to get your weight in there and then go ahead and get your driver's side in. And I'll do that off camera, and then once I'm done, we'll come back and then we'll kind of go over what we need to do to finish off this chassis portion before we move on to the running gear. All right, so we got this other side done. You can see we got our pivot, we got our bearing carrier basically. I still have to actually get this guy on, and then I'll go ahead and do that off camera, seeing how I had done that. But this is going to be it for this this portion of the build video. So we'll call this part 1. We'll go ahead and go over everything else that we're going to do in part 2 in the beginning of that. But for now, this is the chassis, and that's going to be it. You can see I added my weight inside of here. And I would say that just this alone is probably about 7 to 8 pounds with these motors, maybe even 10 pounds, maybe not 10, but it's pretty heavy already. So thanks for watching, and tune in for the second video.